Saint Katy the Virgin by John Steinbeck. In P, as the French say, in the year 13, there lived a bad man who kept a bad pig. He was a bad man because he laughed too much at the wrong times and at the wrong people. He laughed at the good brothers of M when they came to the door for a bit of whiskey or a piece of silver, and he laughed at tithe time. When Brother Clement fell in the mill pond and drowned because he would not drop the sack of salt he was carrying, the bad man, Rourke, laughed until he had to go to bed for it. When you think of the low, nasty kind of laughter it was, you'll see what a bad man this Rourke was, and you'll not be surprised that he didn't pay his tithes and got himself talked about for excommunication. You see, Rourke didn't have the proper kind of face for a laugh to come out of. It was a dark, tight face, and when he laughed, it looked as though Rourke's leg had just been torn off, and his face was getting ready to scream about it. In addition, he called people fools, which is unkind and unwise, even if they are. Nobody knew what made Rourke so bad, except that he had been a traveler and had seen bad things about the world. You see the atmosphere the bad pig Katy grew up in, and maybe it's no wonder. There are books written about how Katy came from a long line of bad pigs, how Katy's father was a chicken-eater and everybody knew it, and how Katy's mother would make a meal out of her own litter if she was let. But that isn't true. Katy's mother and father were good modest pigs, in so far as nature provided pigs with equipment for modesty, which isn't far. But still, they had the spirit of modesty, as a lot of people have. Katy's mother had litter after litter of nice, red, hungry pigs as normal and decent as you could wish. You must see that the badness of Katy wasn't anything she got by inheritance, so she must have picked it up from the man Rourke. There was Katy lying in the straw with her eyes squinted shut and her pink nose wrinkled, as fine and quiet a piglet as you ever saw until the day when Rourke went out to the sty to name the litter. "You'll be Bridget," he said, "and you're Rory, and turn over, you little devil, you're Katy." And from that minute, Katy was a bad pig, the worst pig, in fact, that was ever in the county of P. She began by stealing most of the milk, which Doug she couldn't suck on. She put her back against, so poor Rory and Bridget and the rest turned out runts. Pretty soon, Katy was twice as big as her brothers and sisters and twice as strong. And for badness, can you equal this? One at a time, Katy caught Bridget and Rory and the rest and ate them. With such a start, you might expect almost any kind of a sin out of Katy, and sure enough, it wasn't long before she began eating chickens and ducks until at last Rourke interfered. He put her in a strong sty. At least it was strong on his side. After that, what chickens Katy ate, she got from the neighbors. You should have seen the face of Katy. From the beginning, it was a wicked face. The evil yellow eyes of her would frighten you even if you had a stick to knock her on the nose with. She became the terror of the neighborhood. At night, Katy would go stealing out of a hole in her sty to raid hen roosts. Now and then, even a child disappeared and was heard of no more, and Rourke, who should have been ashamed and sad, grew fonder and fonder of Katy. He said she was the best pig he ever owned, and had more sense than any pig in the country. After a while, the whisper went around that it was a weir pig that wandered about at night and bit people on the legs and rooted in gardens and ate ducks. Some went so far as to say it was Rourke himself who changed into a pig and stole through the hedges at night. That was the kind of reputation Rourke had with his neighbors. Well, Katy was a big pig now, and it came time for her to be bred. The boar was sterile from that day on, and went about with a sad, suspicious look on his face, and was perplexed and distrustful. But Katy swelled up and swelled up until one night she had her litter. She cleaned them all up and licked them off the way you'd think motherhood had changed her ways. When she got them all dry and clean, she placed them in a row and ate every one of them. It was too much for even a bad man like Rourke. For, as everyone knows, a sow who will eat her own young. For, as everyone knows, that a sow will eat her own young. For as everyone knows, a sow that will eat her own young is deprived beyond human ability to conceive wickedness. Reluctantly, Rourke got ready to slaughter Katy. He was just getting the knife ready when along the path came Brother Colin and Brother Paul, on their way collecting tithes. They were sent out from the monastery of M, and while they didn't expect to get anything out of Rourke, they thought they'd give him a try anyhow, the way a man will. Brother Paul was a thin, strong man, with a thin, strong face and a sharp eye, and unconditional piety written all over him, while Brother Colin was a short, round man with a wide, round face. And Brother Paul looked forward to trying the graces of God in heaven, but Brother Colin was all for testing them on earth. The people called Colin a fine man, and Paul a good man. They went tithing together because what Brother Colin couldn't get by persuasion, Brother Paul dug out with threats and descriptions of the fires of hell. "Rourke," said Brother Paul, "we're out tithing. You won't go picking your soul in sulphur. You won't go pickling your soul in sulphur the way you've been in the habit, will you?" Rourke stopped whetting the knife, and his eyes for evilness might have been Katy's own eyes. He started out to laugh, and then the beginning of it stuck in his throat. He got a look on his face like the look Katy had when she was for eating her litter. "I have a pig for you," said Rourke, and he put the knife away. The brothers were amazed, for up to that time they'd got nothing out of Rourke except the dog sicked on them, and Rourke laughed at the way they tripped over their skirts getting to the gate. "A pig?" said Brother Colin suspiciously. "What kind of a pig?" "The pig that's in the sty alone there," said Rourke, and his eyes seemed to turn yellow. The brothers hurried over to the sty and looked in. They noted the size of Katy and the fat on her, and they stared incredulously. Colin could think of nothing but the great hams she had, and the bacon she wore about like a topcoat. "We'll get a sausage for ourselves from this," he whispered, but Brother Paul was thinking of the praise from Father Benedict when he heard they'd got a pig out of Rourke. Paul turned away. "When will you send this pig over?" he asked. "I'll bring nothing," Rourke cried. "It's your pig there. You take her with you, or she will stay here." The brothers did not argue. They were too glad to get anything. Paul slipped a cord through the nose ring of Katy and led her out of the sty, and for a moment Katy followed them, as though she were a really good pig,